Kara Padambhujanmane Savilasa Mahamoha Graha Graseka Karmani Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Vadarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punaha Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhage व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः ॐ शान्तिः 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 श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः. So we had started our satsang in the last class, and it started with the prayer Namah Sri Sankarananda Guru Padam Bhujanamane Savilasa Mahamoha. That is the key thing, that our entrapment in samsara is a result of one particular thing, that we are in a certain way trapped in ignorance, and therefore we consider this samsara to be real. And because we consider this samsara is real, we do not find a way out of it. However, as this text mentions, under the compassionate guidance of the spiritual tradition and its representative, the Guru, and the Shastra Parampara, the Shastra, the sacred text, we are in a way slowly enabling ourselves to access the truth. Doesn't mean that we do not have the potential, but we need a bit of help to transform our potential into power, into ability. We have the possibility, but then translating that possibility into a real capacity or competence that brings certain elements which are filters in between somebody who has the potential not yet there and somebody who has the potential and he has realized it. And that is what Shastra says is sadhana chatushtaya sampanna, that is the adhikara. Adhikara is not about rights and claims. Adhikara is essentially about who is the one, it's yogyata, who is the one who is qualified to successfully engage with the Shastra and benefit out of it. So he should have Viveka, Vairagya, he should have the power of discretion between what's real, what's unreal, a bit of disenchantment, more positively, non attachment with the samsara. And then you have Samadhamadi Satka Sampati, which is Mano Nigraha, Indriya Nigraha, Uparati Titiksha, endurance, and having a bit of withdrawal from being focused on what you're doing, what you're thinking, your swadhyaya. And then Shraddha and Samadhana, having faith in that spiritual tradition, being able to focus your mind, and then Mumukshitvam, that final thing. These are the qualities that enable us to, in a fully successful manner, not only draw our minds, our consciousness to the subject of liberation, to explore answers to why we are here, what's our purpose, why are we getting confused, getting a sense of direction. It's like you're standing in Rath Yatra, which is going on in a huge crowd. You don't know where you're going. And you might feel very upset and angry, but the one who has come there for Jagannath Darshan is pretty happy. Someone is kicking him. Some people are shouting, it's very hot. And yet this fellow is cool and quiet and he's smiling because his purpose is to have darshan of Lord Jagannath. He is able to withstand all that. Similarly, in samsara, the person who has got his eyes fixed on exploring the meaning of his existence or connecting with the divine, having sense of purpose, once it's there, things become easy to handle, easy to make sense of. And there he mentions the critical thing out there is Guru's grace, and therefore he does the. And you are trying to deal with a crocodile. Sansara is compared to the crocodile which attacks you. pulls you into the water. Water symbolizes Bhavasagara, the ocean of samsara. It will drown you, flip you around, devour you. What is that? Ignorance. That crocodile. Symbolizing ignorance, ferocious, all the time trying to sort of cheat you. It hides, keeps hiding, floating on water. You can never recognize it till it attacks you. And the ignorance, similarly, when it's like a slipper cell, not one. The Mula Jnana has 1,000 and a million slipper cells in our consciousness. The moment we go closer to it, it attacks, pulls us inside. Once we are aware of it, we know how to negotiate our way out of it, or at least hold ourselves, not get trapped by it. And therefore, he is doing pranam to his Guruji. Now, after that, there was a little justification, little elaboration of this prayer to the Guru. This is basically Mangala Charana. Why so? We discussed that this is in order to remove the possible likely obstructions to the spiritual journey of discovering the meaning, especially the satsang about Vedanta Panchadashi. The author is praying his gurus. Tat padamburuhadvanda seva nirmala chetasam sukhabodhaya tattvasya vivekoyam vidhiyate. Now, if you want to do an experiment in a laboratory, you need a few laboratory conditions. So you have to look at the temperature, you have to look at the air pressure, you have to look at any pollutants, because if you're doing any sensitive biological experiment, okay, maybe you're working in the medicine sector or farm sector, you're doing some research. So whatever medicine you want to administer, you are developing it. So you're working on some fungus or some bacteria. It's a very sensitive experiment, and therefore you have to make sure that all the laboratory conditions are met. And then the survival of that particular chemical substance, which is going to be medicine, how long can it last? What is the temperature range in which the composition doesn't change? You look at all that. Similarly, he's saying that even if you have the basic qualifications, what is the primary qualification to get into this whole business of looking for the self, this whole pursuit of self-awareness or knowledge, or you call it moksha, liberation? He says the most important is that you have to have a nirmala chetas. Your consciousness should be transparent, should be clear. Now you have two buckets of water, and both are Ganga water, right? And then you drop your ring. The one which is muddy, or bucket full of Ganga water, which you have collected during the rainy season right now. It's very muddy. Or a bucket of Ganga water you have collected during the autumn or in the winter, which is extremely blue and clear. Beautiful, clean water. Both are Ganga water, with and without mud. If you drop the ring in a clean Ganga water bucket, you can immediately look at where it's lying at the bottom of the bucket. In case of the muddy water bucket, once it goes, you have to put your hand and look searching for it, because your eyes become helpless. It's muddy, you cannot penetrate it. Now bring it to the drashtantika, or the context in which you are trying to understand this. When our mind is clouded with a lot of thoughts, a lot of emotions, we say, no, I was a little clouded. I couldn't think about it. Many times, if we remember our student days, we would get into the examination hall and we panic looking at a certain problem of mathematics or physics or whatever. At the very side of it, or because it's mentioned in a way which varies distinctly from the way we had seen the same problem while preparing for it. You come out, you look at it, oh, it's very easy. What did I do? No, I have messed it up. Why? Because the consciousness was clouded with an element of anxiety, You are under pressure, there's few minutes left, and you're trying to attempt that question. It happens with a lot of students, especially those who are sitting in this highly competitive entrance examinations for the university, especially medical or IITs. You have this hassle. What differentiates the mind from facing the same problem in the classroom or the library, in your study room, and the examination hall? What distinguishes a person who is playing cricket or practicing? He plays very efficiently when he's doing practice. And then when he's playing a match, he underperforms compared to his level of skills and their display during practice sessions. Why so? Because his mind is a little pressured. We people in samsara similarly are kind of clouded with several inclinations, propensities, responsibilities, thoughts, anxieties, fears. And therefore, what in fact is very important appears least important. What in fact is truer than all that we value in our lives appears valueless. And we chase different things in life which are temporary, which make us tired, which bring us more suffering and anxiety and depression. But they are the things that we value in that state of a clouded consciousness. When these layers and layers of delusion or wrong understanding wear off, then we see ourselves. The mind is clearer. Therefore, he's saying, and how that mind gets cleaned up. One easy way, when a person is in deep depression, he goes to a religious scholar, he goes to a preacher or a religious or spiritual counselor. What does he? He knows he's in a troubled situation. What does he say? Okay, you take the holy name. He might also say, wait, this if he wants to make money, he will say, why don't you buy this gem? And I know somebody who can give it to you, and then call up that guy and say, this gem is going to cost this much, but if I recommend how much percentage you're going to give, these rackets are all around. But then if you sincerely, you are a Shishud, you want to generally give help, what do you tell him? No, he's going to go, wait for some time, take the holy name. Why the holy name? Why not name of a good friend? No, you just want to sort of make the mind come back to its real shape. And in order to come back to its real shape, it needs to release all the stress and the strain. If you're a Buddhist, you say Amitabha, you have the pure mind, pure land meditation method. Or you do the Buddhist Gayatri mantra. Whichever way, you're essentially trying to reorient the mind, which is disturbed by a range of factors. Some are known to you, some are not known to you. They are sometimes operating at a very subconscious level. What's the easy way? You want to reorient your mind without getting into the details by consciously focusing it, driving it towards a point of attention. It could be the name of God or Guru. And here he's saying, Tat Padamburva Dvanda Seva Nirmala Chetasam. Those minds which have been purified through devotion, the twin lotus feet of the Lord or the Guru. Guru and Lord are not different. They're essentially one. It's essentially God who is trying to help somebody using the Guru as a nimitta. Guru is not a person who uses his own human powers to do anything. That will be magic. But he's so forceful without appearing forceful because he's essentially connecting his student or his disciple or whosoever is seeking his help with the divine as a facilitator. He just connects them. And once that divinity, the holy name, has stabilized in the name, in the mind or the consciousness of the aspirant, the guru's job is half done. Then he starts taking that holy name. In a few months and years, in fact, sometimes the aspirant travels a longer distance towards himself or herself. grows spiritually much more intense compared to his spiritual counselor or guru, who may be stuck at a certain level of success internal. It's quite possible. The guru may turn into politics, into business, into any kind of activity, whereas the Sishya goes far beyond him through his dedication and through his single pointed devotion to the divine. And therefore, the guru says, I have bowed to my guru, and then one has sort of purified his consciousness, and that purification of the consciousness enables one to focus on that Atma or the Atma Tattva. That is what he's saying. And then he's saying, those whose minds have thus been cleansed, purged of negative thoughts and tendencies and affinities, for them he's saying, Sukhavodhaya Tattvasya. What is that Tattva? What is the meaning of this word Tattva here? Tat is that absolute truth. In order to know about it, what is the Tatness? What is the thatness of that? What does it mean to say Brahman? What does it mean to say Satchidananda? Satyam Jnanam Ananda Brahma. In order to know that Tattva, in order to understand what the Brahman is, in order to know what is the absolute truth all about, in a way which is easier, it's not very difficult. That comes away with the grace of God through His words of compassionate explanation of very difficult to penetrate truths. And Vivekoyam Vidhiyate. And therefore, he's sort of setting the context that we're going to do this vichara, this analytical reflection on what is Atma and what is Brahman. Having prayed to the Lord, he's saying, now I'm going to talk about this Tattva, I'm writing this book. So first he prays to the Lord and his representative, his own guru, and then he sets out to tell you what is the Pratipadya Vishaya and what is the Pratipadaka. He mentions the Adhikara. Then he's completing that Anuvandha Chatushtaya, saying the Pratipadaka will be the text that I'm going to set out in front of you. All these 1500 couplets, slokas. And he's on a journey. Now, in order to start his journey, the first step he's taking is in fact to establish that the somebody is so the main target therefore is to establish the unity of supreme consciousness, because unlike in other religious traditions within the Vedic tradition, we have Dvaita traditions inspired largely by kind of theistic, non-dualism can be both theistic and non-theistic. Even spirituality can be theistic and non-theistic. You can have spirituality without too much of a focus on God. What happened to that? Am I disconnected or you're being able to see it? Am I okay or okay? I think that
We can hear you.
okay. Everything is fine, right? Can
Yes,
you?
yes, Swami. Okay. We are audible. Yeah.
Okay,
Pranam,
thank you.
Swami. Pranam.
Thank you. So the whole thing is now he's trying to establish so my video is off. I'm a little amused as to what happened. Yeah. So he sort of is trying to establish what is this Brahman? Jiva Brahmiva na paraha. Brahma Satya Jagana Mithya. Shankaracharya's main sentence, establishing the unity of consciousness pervading all over. How does he work it out? How does he establish with the help of the Upanishads? Do we have the reality as such is different from us? If we presume this, there is a duality. There is a knower and there is a jnana varga or objects of our knowledge. For somebody where everything boils down to one pure consciousness, he has a major challenge. Or what is that major challenge? The major challenge is that he would be in a condition to explain, if everything is one, why are we experiencing a reality which is diverse and complex and chaotic? Please look at this issue a little more carefully. Very interesting. If at all you are saying that everything is only Brahman, everything is pure consciousness, everything is God, a lot of these gurus and acharyas have made this statement. I see Lord Krishna everywhere, I see Brahman everywhere. Now, if you see Brahman everywhere, why I don't see Brahman everywhere? Why this samsara is so diverse? And if you accept that as the fundamental truth, if that is the fundamental truth, then why at all should the world appear so diverse, so complex? There's absolutely no reason for it to appear so diverse and so complex. In order to drive home the point in the beginning of Panchadashi, this beautiful text, which in fact seeks to establish and prove that everything which appears diverse is in fact one unified consciousness, starts with a few beautiful couplets. The third is the next one, and I would be flipping the page so that you can, yeah, this one. Sabdasparshadayo vedya vaichitya zagare prathak tato bhivakta tat samved ekarupa navidyate. Now, it's a beautiful sloka, but what is he trying to say first? Let's break it down and make sense of it. The sloka says, if we look at it, that during the waking state, okay, we see the world is divided, as diverse, right? And it starts with an admission. If you are trying to convince someone, you are doing a negotiation. What do? Do you start with a disagreement? No. You start with, it's called sort of appreciative inquiry, as I say. First, you appreciate what the reality is, or the way he's raising it. You said, yes, you have said all that is perfect. The Acharya here, who is dealing with the text, if you look at the Sanskrit thing, he's saying, Jivar Brahmanor Ekatva Lakshana Vishaya Sambhavanaya. Jiva and a Brahman, we are trying to say, is one. All of us are not different. Even during this very satsang, somebody at my end is reading the text. There is a laptop screen in between, and then there is some technicalities of these, whatever. And then the other side, at some distance, you are sitting in your places. The truth which is being driven home here is that we are actually one pure consciousness. How is satsang possible? Who is speaking? Who is listening? Why so many laptops and phones if it's one pure consciousness? The Acharya has no confusion whatsoever, and he's going to establish and explain to us that in fact it's one pure consciousness. How does that work? He's saying, look, in order to explain to us, Jiva and Brahman are actually one. How does he say? Jivasya satya jnana de rupatam didarshaituhu adau jnanasya avheda pratipadanena nityatvam sadhayati. Now, if I break this explanatory introduction to the verse number 3, it would be like this. Because he's trying to start to explain with examples that Chaitanya, which is Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma, and the Jiva is no different from it, and so-called Ishvara and the Jagat, they are, none of us are different from it. It's just pure unified reality appearing as different. So he's saying, in order to prove that everything is one, I will in fact focus on the sambit aspect of the consciousness aspect of it. So these are modifications of pure consciousness or projections of the pure consciousness appearing as different. And we have several examples in Vedanta. One would be, if you look at the rainbow, what does it represent? Few droplets of rainwater, sun rays, space. Is there any rainbow? No, there is not. And there are 7 colors. Actually, the sunlight doesn't represent 7 colors. They're hidden there. But you see that spectrum during the rainbow. Similarly, the space is unified. You can add adjectives and then say, this is the area of my house, this is the area of your house. This is my room, that's your room. This is air of my room, this is air. It's just one thing. But then with adjectives or upadhis, as they mentioned, we can have some experience of difference. Similarly, in this sloka, first he's saying, Savda Sparsha Dayaha. Why only Sabda and Sparsha? Because you have 5 jnana indriyas. As per our knowledge tradition, they have this very valid way of explaining that each indriya or perceptual instrument that you have can only access one aspect of the reality. With the eyes, you cannot know the taste of pudding or rasmalai you are having in front of you. You have ice cream in front of you. You can see the size, color, and shape of the ice cream. But with the tongue only, you can know how cold it is. And you can know what is its taste. And you can know its smell with your nose. And when that person is handing it over to you, with your ears, can you hear the sound that it makes when you're holding it or when you're eating it? Your eyes cannot get its smell. Your tongue cannot get its shape, because only eyes can get its shape. So each indriya has a certain domain of reality, certain aspect of reality, which it can access and give you awareness regarding that. And you have 5 jnanendriyas, and accordingly, you have 5 domains of reality which they access. The mind or the manas, which is the antakarana, the internal indriya, can access all, because that's how we see dreams, because there is no external reality during dreams, and yet we're being able to see a very colorful party or a picnic or a jungle or a garden. How do you do that? With the help of your mind. Therefore, it can access any aspect of the reality which is not even real. Now coming back here, he's saying Savda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. These are the 5 domains. Shabda is Akasha, stage in Shabda, the sound. Sparsha, Tvacha, your skin with which you can touch and feel. And then you Rupa with your eyes, and Rasa with your tongue, and Gandha with your nose. So Sabda Sparshadayaha here not mentioned. So you have to include Rupa, Rasa, and Gandha, the 5 domains of material reality. Vedya means they are knowable. Vaichitriya Jagare Pratak. They are Vidya. How are they? They are known as different. Sound is one reality, touch is one reality, shape and size, these are all different realities. Now, you can say that no, through my touch, I can know the shape of a thing. Yeah, you can. Can you tell me the color? Blind people are able to distinguish between a 500 rupee note and a 100 rupee note. Through touch, yes, they can. Can they tell us what is the difference in the color? No, that they cannot do. Only eyes can do it. So they appear Vaichitriyat, and then Jagare means Jagrate Kale, during the waking state, they appear as different. Vaichitriyat. Why so? Because there is difference between the objects of knowledge. Consciousness is one. The same mind is accessing these 5 domains of reality. Consciousness is one, but the consciousness is getting itself entangled with 5 different domains of reality. And therefore, It has 5 different kinds of jnana, or 5 different shapes in which the consciousness gets modified. Tataha vivaktaha tat sambit. That sambit is actually ekorupa. It's pure consciousness. But it acquires shapes and sizes and colors, whatever it connects with, depending on what are the jnani indriyas through which it connects. Accordingly, it assumes that shape or size or color, and then you have some production of awareness of that particular domain, and the world appears as different. There are several examples. So just imagine that somebody is going to interview someone, or somebody sends you, can you go, and then we have a proposal for our son, and my friend has a daughter, he has invited you for a dinner, but before a formal interaction, can you just have a go and have a, and because you are a nice guy, and the guy who the father of the son doesn't want to go, he sends you because he respects you, trusts you, and go have, this is the Indian context. There's yet no interaction between a boy and the girl. They are different professions working in different organizations. But then you just want to do the scoping exercise, you're going there. And then you come back, and then he says, how is she? Because you are a professional. Oh, she's very articulate and wonderful in communication. But your friend's wife is asking you what she loves to wear. I think she was wearing a good dress. What dress was she wearing? But actually, you didn't pay attention. Because let's imagine you're a professor, so you're very impressed with her academic credentials, and she spoke very well, and you had a wonderful time, like a parent-child interaction. It's like you're meeting one of your nieces. You had a wonderful interaction, and you came back. Your friend is asking, was she wearing nail polish? What color was it? You say, no, I haven't seen. And then your wife had gone with you. She's particular about all this. And she looks at her nail polish or dress and stuff like that. And when you come back, your friend's wife is asking your wife, oh, can you tell me what sort of food she takes? She doesn't remember because she was looking at the dress. Why am I giving this example is, depending on what the mind connects with is what we see. And the world appears to be that reality. And what the Acharya is telling us here is not that the world is a unified reality, is a non-differentiable reality. No, it is different, it is diverse, it's complex. But what you see has nothing to do with any difference in that awareness. The consciousness remains the same. So you have Sabda Jnana, her voice is wonderful. So you are a musician. She spoke and she sang a small song for you, and you are overwhelmed. She sings bhajans. Oh my God, she has a wonderful voice. Sound reality you have captured, her voice. Or you are a poet and she read out some Sher Shairi for you. Oh, she's a great poet. You connect with different aspects of the reality. And that's all diverse. What Vedanta is saying is not negating the diversity in the Vishaya Varaga. The Vishayas are different, not a problem. The consciousness takes the form of these Vishayas, and therefore an image of reality in the consciousness is created. So let's, for the moment, accept these Vishayas and diverse, because Vedanta will slowly take you, it'll grant you something. Yeah, there is a bit of diversity in Vishaya. And then he'll go to the next level, he'll deny it. It's called Sakha Chandra Nyaya. The baby wants to see where is the moon. The mother says, oh, you want to see the moon? Okay. Or it's called Arundhati Nyaya. Very difficult to locate it. So first you look at the moon, and then, okay, look at these Saptarshi Mandala, the 7 stars. Yeah, can you see that? Can you see the polar star? Yeah. Can you see there's a very small, invisible, tiny, twinkling star at a distance from that. Really, where is that? Yeah, that is Arundhati. Not easily discernible. And there is a small change in the focal length of the eye, you cannot see it again. So also the Sakha Chandra Nyaya is the mother draws the attention of the child to the tree and then to branches, and then further sharpens the attention to a specific branch and says, "Can you see a white spot which is dazzling just behind that branch?" The child says, "Yes." Yeah, that's the moon. That is Chanda Mama. That is Uncle Moon. Oh, really? Yeah, that is the one. The baby is super happy and claps and laughs. Similarly, the Acharya will grant us step by step, will take us to a higher delineation of the same truth, where what at a particular level we accept is fine will be discarded. Neti neti will just have hypothesis rejected, go to the next level. So he's saying Sabda Sparshadayo Vidya Vaichitriya Jagare Prathak. They are all different. During Jagrat Kala, why so? Because what is Jagrata Kala? What is this waking state? Waking state is that state in which we have awareness of reality, or we have some experience with the help of our sense organs. There has to be some Vishaya Indriya Sanyoga Danya Jnana. You have some connection, some correlation, some linkage established with an external reality and the sense organs. And then there is some knowledge which is produced. Then only you can say this is a Jagrata Kala. Now, when you are in sleep and your son is playing some music on YouTube, that's your favorite song, but you don't get disturbed. Why? Maybe the Sanyoga is happening. Sanyoga is not about the physical ear. The Indriya Devata is asleep. Sense organ is, this is the Indriya Golaka. It is the structure through which the Indriya Devata, the sense organ, is hiding. That part is not active. Ear is there. You don't hear. This is how it works. And where there is no such connection, yes, there is an experience of reality. That is the dream state. We'll go there. Tataha vivaktat sambid ekorupat, because that word ekorupyat, because the proof is giving. It is Anumana Pramana, syllogisms, the Nyaya Sastra in India. Because it's having the same form, but connected with different elements or different aspects of external reality, they appear as different. Essentially, they are one. Now, Vaichitriya Jagare Sabdasparshadaya Prithak Vedyaha Tataha Vivaktaha Tatsambit Ekya Rupyat Na Vidyate. So these are only one, and there is no difference. Tatra Tavat Bispasta Vyavaharavati Jagare. Look at this sentence. Bispasta. You have very clear understanding of this is a pen, this is a phone, this is a car, this is a boy, this is a girl. When that happens, during waking state. Jnanyasya abhedam sadhayati. He's trying to establish that jnana or awareness of all these domains of reality is one. With different adjectives, you are saying different, but that consciousness of Chaitanya remains one. Jagare indriyahi artholupdhi jagaritam. So this is lakshana or a definition of what is the waking state. Indriyahi arthopalabdhihi. When you have some awareness of reality with the help of your sense organs, that is called the waking state. Ityukta lakshane avastha vishaye vidyaha. So with this definition, avastha vishese, the printing is a little, not very clear because it's a PDF file. So avastha vishese vidyaha, different kinds of objects are there. What is knowable? Sambid vishaya bhutaha. They're essentially a modification. You have the tadakara vritti of your consciousness. Sparsha savdadayaha akasadi gunadvena prasiddhaha. Sabda is what? It stays in akasa, in space, according to our Nyaya system or Vaisheshika system. And sparsha, vayu, there's a connection. And Rupa, Agni, that Teja Padartha. Jala, right? You have Rasha in Jala. And Gandhavatva in Prithvi, Sa Gandhavati Prithvi. Akasadayahascha. He's saying, Tat Adharatvena. Then of all these, Prasiddhaha. The Guna Bhatva. Guna is there. What is the Adhara? Akasa stays in the space. Rasa stays in Jala. So, Adharatvena Prasiddhaha Akasadayascha. All these domains of reality, Panchabhutas, are different Adharas on which you have these gunas. There is a guna is always ashrita in dravya. Qualities will be there in different objects. Vaichitriyat parasparam gavaswadi vad, like you have a horse and a cow, they are different. Similarly, you have awareness of the sky, awareness of sound, awareness of the smell. They all are different. Vailikhyana upetattvada prathak paraswaram vidyante. They appear as if they are different from each other, essentially because you have sense organs, they are accessing domains of reality, and these are sort of opposed to each other or different from each other. Tataha tebhyo vivakta buddhya vivechita. With the help of your intellect, you say this is water, it has this taste, this is a piece of mud and it's having this smell, or this is akasa, I hear this sound. Tata sambit tesham. And all these realities or these vishayas, you have that pure consciousness, sabdadinam savigyanam, ekarupyat. The consciousness of sound or smell or touch or smell or shape or size, whatever you see or touch or smell or taste, whatever, that's one consciousness. Ekarupya samvid. Samvid iti ekakarena avabhasamanatvat. Ghatagyana, patagyana, savdagyana, jalagyana. Everything is jnana, right? Knowledge of this is knowledge of sound. This is knowledge of touch. This is knowledge of size or shape or color. This is knowledge of its taste and this is knowledge of its smell. What is it? Knowledge or consciousness. So he's saying, end of the day, atra ayam prayogaha, using that nyaya syllogism, we'll try to deal with as much as we can because it's a little academic for the uninitiated. What he's trying to say, vivada adhyasita sambeda, you are having a bit of controversy or argumentation about the nature of this consciousness or sambeda. Swabhavika bheda sunya. By itself, there is no bheda. Of its own, there is no distinction between consciousness A and consciousness B. If you're saying consciousness A and consciousness B, you are bringing in these upadhis A and a B, these variables, in the light of which you are saying this is consciousness of A and this is consciousness of B, that is consciousness of C. Remember, they're all consciousness. Everything is one consciousness. Now, this is the Vedantic way of establishing unity. The Vedanti, if somebody tells you Vedanti is a liar, he's trying to cheat you, he's a gaslighting guy, because everything is different. No, he's not saying that. He's saying the consciousness which makes these diverse realities accessible and visible to us, so-called realities, are essentially or enshrined, established in pure consciousness. And that is one without which there is nothing that exists. And there's a lot of good research on it. There is a question sometimes which is asked, what would happen if there is no language? Actually, there'll be no reality, because how do you talk about it? If there is no consciousness, is there any reality? Who verifies it? Is there any reality outside of consciousness? Yeah, there's a lot. There are two schools of physics right now. There's a quantum mechanics guy who says there's no reality which is independent and outside of consciousness, because it's all observer dependent. And there are people who very sternly, strongly argue that yes, the classical physics group, yes, there is a reality. Everything is not observer dependent. But we'll get into that because these are sophisticated arguments. Broadly, it's impossible to talk about reality Because to talk about reality, there is somebody who is talking about reality. To think about reality, there is somebody who is thinking about reality. There is nothing called reality without thinking. There is no thinking without consciousness. And that consciousness is essentially one. We can name it as one to infinite, depending on different names and forms and different upadhis. And connecting that pure consciousness with so many upadhis, we might see the world as diverse, but essentially, end of the day, everything is happening in that consciousness. Hard to digest at the first sight. But the more and more we think about it, the more and more slowly we get convinced about it. And he's saying, Vivada Dhyasita Sambheda Swabhavika Veda Sunya. In its own nature, it's one. There is no Bheda. Bheda Sunya means it's one. Upadhi Paramarsham Antarena Abhibhavyamana Vedatvat. Without Upadhi and a Paramarsha. This is the Nyaya language. So without having some Upadhi, some kind of a superimposition, some kind of a name and form, some adjective, to put it in layman's language, you would not be able to show distinctions between consciousness A, B, C. You have to bring in those reference in order to say these are all different. What is the example? Gaganavat. Like you can say Ghatakasha, Patakasha, space in my house, space in your house, temple space, Jagannath chariot space, Jagannath space, Bhakta space, police space, state space, space only. Upadhi Veda, there's space in me, space in you. My space is different from your space, and your space is different from your friend's space. End of the day, we just part of one space, one Akasha. Gaganavat. Sabda Samveda Sparsha Samvedo na Vidyate. Similarly, the awareness or consciousness of sound is not different, cannot be distinguished except in a very analytical sense from Sparsha Sambit, means awareness of touch. Why? Sambitvad. Because by nature is consciousness. And how do you distinguish? Therefore, he's saying Sambitvad, Sparsha Sambidvat. What is the example? He's saying, yeah, because if you have awareness of touch, that is awareness. So that is the argument. Iti ekaya ekasya eva samvidah. Samvid is one. That's one. Gaganasya eva upadhika vedena api bhinna vyavahara upapattau. With upadhis, you can also say this is the space in the courtroom, this is space in the corporate office, this is space in the police headquarters. Similarly, with upadhi, you can distinguish one consciousness from another. That is how we can explain multitude jivatmas, whereas actually atma is one. Bhinna vyavahara upapattau vastav veda kalpanayang gauravam badhakam punniyam. He's saying, look here, these distinctions are upadhika. In the context of names and forms, consciousness is essentially one. Having driven us there, now he's taking us to further enlighten us in the light of the dream sequence. Why so? It's a better example. Now, in the dream state, it's a beautiful thing. I keep giving this example. You're walking in a jungle, you are doing trekking with some friends, and suddenly you have walked ahead of your friends. You are doing some trekking in Himachal or in Uttarakhand or any part of Madhya Pradesh, wherever. There's a wildlife sanctuary nearby, and in your dream, suddenly you see a tiger chasing you. And if it's the Uttarakhand or Himachal, maybe just, snow leopard. Or now you have tigers also here. They're chasing you. And then you're running and you slip, and suddenly you remember you have a phone and you are dialing an emergency number. The forest department saying that I'm face to face with the tiger might kill me. I've somehow managed to climb half the tree, but he's looking at me, he's going to attack me in the next 2 minutes. And then the forest department, maybe someone very high up, and then he calls up and there's a helicopter that's going to come and they locate your coordinates. And they lift you out of there. Do you know who are these people? You are the helicopter, you are the tiger, you are running, you shouted, you are the phone, you are the jungle, you are the whole story. And then your sleep breaks and you're on your bed and you're sweating. There's no tiger. But the outcome of the experience of having seen a tiger face to face, which is about to attack you, the consequence is experienceable, it verifiable. You are sweating. Have you seen the tiger? Yes or no? No, you haven't seen the tiger because there's no tiger. You're in your bedroom. Why are you sweating? Why are you breathing so fast? Why are you feeling a little anxious? You are in your bedroom. And your wife or sister or mom who's nearby or your friend, if you're not alone, or if you're alone, you just open your phone and go to the bathroom, relax, and come back to sleep. If someone is nearby, what happened? No, nothing. So, this is how whatever we are trying to sort of avoid, whatever we are trying to avoid, actually didn't exist. And yet, we had got frightened. That is the example he's trying to say. तथा स्वप्ने त्रवेद्यं तु न स्थिरं जागरे स्थिरं तद्भेदोतस्तयोः संवेद एकरूपा न vidyate. Now he's giving the example of the dream state. You are dealing with a range of objects of awareness, but the objects of awareness are not stable. You see a tiger, the tiger becomes a girl, then it becomes a baby, and then suddenly you see you are driving a car. In 2 minutes, you're having ice cream, and then you're sitting in your office. Are they stable? They are not stable. But during the waking state, you saw a tiger at a point. You can take a picture. The tiger may go, but the picture stays. It's verifiable. Then you inform the forest department, or they'll go and get hold of it, and they will take you away to safety. You see a building, the building is there. In the dream, you see a building, the building vanishes the next second. In Jagrat Avastha, the objective reality is intersubjectively variable. You see a tiger, I see a tiger. You see a building, I see a building. Then the building exists. But if I see a building, you see a plant over there, a big banyan tree. One of us is not in good health. You know. So this is the Jagare Sthiram. Tad bhedo ataha tayoho sambid ekarupa na vidyate. And therefore, because the reality in the waking state is stable, whereas in the dream, it's non distinguishable from consciousness and it's not stable. Therefore, the dream reality that we observe is different from the reality we observe during the waking state. However, the consciousness with which we see the dream reality is not different from the consciousness of the waking reality. Why? With the help of consciousness, we see the waking reality. With the help of that same unified consciousness, we see the dream reality. During the dream state, the reality is self created by the mind, whereas in the waking state, we see as if it's outside. But end of the day, ultimately, it's all in the consciousness, and that consciousness is not different from each other. We'll take it forward tomorrow. It's very interesting. I'll bring the discussion to a pause and we'll carry forward from here tomorrow. And we will do the Santi Mantra. Is there any having any questions you can ask if anybody has any questions? One or two you can take. Any questions, anybody? Okay.
Swamiji, uh,
Yes.
uh, I have a small question. I have a doubt. As we talk about these five panchandriyas, the panchandriyas, they are the instrument to connect to the world, to the outside, right? So, uh, how can these panchandriya connect to reality? Reality is something which is inside, I mean, inside the mind. So, panchandriyas are basically for the connection to the world, to the outside. So, consider is more a kind of distraction, as I understand, it's a more kind of a distraction than realizing the the consciousness? That's my question.
Yeah, you're very right. The truth of the matter is that, as per the Nyaya theory, they see how knowledge is produced. You have an object of knowledge. So first you have sense organ, and that object of knowledge, there's a connection, object and sense organ. Then mana indriya sanyoga. Then you have a connection with the external sense organ and the internal sense organ, which is the manas. And then you have atma mana sanyoga. And then in atma, this external object appears as jnana. You have that drabya jnana, rupa jnana, gandha jnana, sparsha jnana. That is how they explain it. For us, it's a little tricky. It's actually moving out. It's the same internal consciousness with the help of indriya. It travels outside. In the sense, it captures, it takes a snap of that object with the help of sense organs, and then it takes the form of that sadakara vritti. It says that your consciousness take the shape of a little smiling girl, because you're looking at that smiling girl. You are doing Kumari Puja. You are addressing her as Divine Mother, and it assumes that form. Whenever we are thinking about anything, our mind assumes that form. And what you've said about Indriya as a distraction is absolutely well taken. There's no confusion about it. Because the idea is, in fact, that the Indriyas will be there and you will continue to have these images appearing in your mind about the reality, where you would be through Vedanta trying to all the time remind yourself of the basic fact that these are all projections. That, with the help of my sense organs, I'm trying to see. But beneath all that appears as diverse and different from me is just one unified consciousness. A very good question, very thoughtful question, and we will use that for carrying forward a discussion tomorrow. I just have another class immediately after this, if you permit me, and send me questions in the WhatsApp
No,
group. And anybody who wants to be
no,
connected with our WhatsApp group, kindly send me what do you call WhatsApp message, or send me a DM in the Facebook I have put, and I'll all include you, whosoever wants. Yeah. Anything
okay,
else?
Swami.
Anybody? Yeah. So thank you so much. Let's
Okay.
do this on. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam
Purnamidam
Purnam
Purnat
Purnamudachyate
Purnam
Purnasya
Purnat
Adaya Purnameva
Purnameva
Vasishyate.
Vasisya.
Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om.